we've said before, I'm Chelsea. I primarily work on the registration platform for CTLive, as we're getting Nick back on scoring to work on some of the bigger projects that we need to deliver to you guys. So the things I'm going to cover today are the areas of transparency for all of our product team. That was one of the bigger takeaways from Timers Conference, is that you really didn't have much knowledge of what we were releasing, what we were working on. So the first step is getting release notes out. That was launched, I believe, in March. And now the next step would be to get a better transparency for our roadmaps, which is also what the product team is working on. Just a little post-conference recap of some of the features that I demoed at conference as well. And then I'll go over the new features since conference. Also discuss a little bit about Adyen, the payment processing that we are moving to, and then what's next. So a few things we've done for the transparency piece. One being the release notes. Has everybody receiving those emails and seeing those updates? Good? Do we like them? Okay, good. And then the other thing is that just for easy access, in your profile when you're logged into CTLive, you can use that link to reach them quickly. So in my mind, it was like on a Friday or Saturday when you're preparing for any of your events on the weekend, you can hop in there and make sure everything is the same or nothing has changed. I know that was one of the bigger complaints when you'd log in after a few weeks of not being in there and something's completely different. You have no idea why. So this is supposed to help guide you a little bit as far as also the knowledge bases. The only link that was there before was the scoring knowledge base, so now you have the registration knowledge base as well. And then the other option that you have now is to see the system's operational link and status. So that, if you click here, this just takes you to the page where it's showing you our system's operations, and if everything is green light or if there's any issues, and there's a statement on that page as well. So hopefully these things are helpful. Do we have any questions about this particularly? Because that's all I was going to cover on that. Okay. So one of the biggest features that we implemented for Peachtree, this came up a little earlier, I believe Nick brought it up, are custom reg forms. And after watching how they used it, it was actually quite impressive, like how many different scenarios they covered and how easy it was for them to kind of privatize reg access for different groups. So one being memberships. ATC has memberships for all of their events, and they had a way where you can guarantee entry to Peachtree as a member. So that registration opened early, so it's something that you can have people register from one date to another before you open up, say, the lottery registration, which is obviously for the public. Also, they had charity, which is also guaranteed, promo code entry, which is also guaranteed. So things that they really wanted to privatize and make sure that only certain people received. Sponsorships, which is kind of like what I've demoed here, showing that you can really customize your reg form based on whatever employee groups you're working with or VIPs or what have you. So this is showing a little bit too that you can assign. This is the admin version of it, but these would be the same kind of graphic headers that you have on your graphics page, but customizable for each reg choice. So it gets a little bit more granular. And then also the tag there is actually referring to the actual URL. So if I click here, just an example of what that reg form looks like. So you can see it's tag equals Reebok. So if you don't have that URL, you wouldn't know to access that page, which is how we keep it privatized. So I just wanted to recap on that. Has anybody used it yet? What about it? No, I just wanted to pull that up really quickly. But anything, Nick? Do you want to come up here? Okay. So if you haven't used this, if you have any questions, feel free to come grab me and I can walk you through it again. But it is really useful. We're pretty excited about this feature, so we hope that people would start using it and provide feedback too if you think of anything that we could do to improve it. To press play again. Okay. The other thing that we released right around the time of conference, and I don't think we covered it much in detail, but again, this was a Peachtree feature that we've released for everyone, is the ability to customize your registration confirmation emails by reg choice. So right now you can go into the email tab under registration and you can make it so the message that you customize goes to all your reg choices, or you can go into each individual reg choice and have a different message, and you can also enable different custom question answers to display in the email, which is the example here on the right. What's kind of nice about that is if you were to use, there's a barcode feature now for check-in, for example, and if you wanted to make sure, say, a USAT number or lifetime number, whatever your custom questions are asking, if you have some information on that, it's basically kind of like a confirmation receipt, or provide your check-in with some more information rather than just somebody shows up and gives you their name and you have to sign. Yeah.
Question on that. We had one with more than 5, and I tried to put all six of them there, and it's going to be 5.
Did we limit that?
What the number of custom questions that you can display?
Interesting. We can look at that. Yeah, I thought it was how many we needed to.
Nothing in that, if you put nothing in like grade division, will it just show a blank?
It just blank. Right, it won't show up at all. So if they don't answer the question, it won't show up. So it doesn't look like the question's here and then this is blank. It'll just not show up. Yeah, we can certainly make sure that there's no limit. There shouldn't need to be a limit at all, so we can look into that. Some of the new features that we've released since conference, and these are all hyperlinked, so when we share this all links to the release notes that have been sent about them. But the first kind of group is the org-wide features, which is just the beginning of what we're working on to do org-wide functionality in general. So it starts with reg classes, and some of you might wonder why we have to do reg classes, and we'll get into that. Also coupons, and then how reg class eligibility for guest passes. So rather than having to edit your guest pass for event and then reg choice, we've kind of streamlined it through reg classes, which again we'll talk about here in a second. Series, we're kind of doing a version 2 of series. We've left it kind of sitting since last summer, so we're picking up building better features around your functionality there. One is tiered discounts. So essentially the way discounts worked with series previously is that you could just do one discount for the entire series, and now you can do it if, say, they sign up for 2 events, you can give them 20% off, 3 events, 40% off, 4 events, 60% off, however you want to make that work. That's provided flexibility with that. We also added date formats. That's more of an international request, but basically for our events where you can have month first rather than day. Also, some new reports that we've put in place. One was Matt's request with the referral tracking to make sure that people were either using their referrals or to kind of holler out to let them know that they should and incentivize that. We put in place an org-wide donations report, and then also made some enhancements to the confirmation registration page, which provides more information, which again I'll demo after we talk about org-wide reg classes. So what this feature is basically allows you to group similar reg choices across your events into what we call a reg class. And basically this is the view. So in your org-wide tab, the reg class is there. You can pick your organizer, and then you can build these however you like. So you can see here I use really simple examples, 5Ks, 10Ks, if you have gift certificates as a reg choice. And then if you click the view, you can see here every reg choice and event that you've assigned to with the event ID. And just above it is just the edit modal for when you create a new reg class. It's similar to how you add event reg choices to a series form. So we did that for easy editing. The original implementation was you had to individually add it by the reg choice within the reg choice editing modal, which obviously was going to be a lot of work for people who wanted to set this up quickly. So we iterated and added that functionality. And you might wonder, why would you have to do this? Well, because we needed a way to group reg choices across your events in order to enable org-wide couponing and discounts, including guest passes. So what the coupon tab just next to the reg classes allows you to do is similar to the event status or coupon page where you set up the discount. Right now, the only type of coupon you can do org-wide is percentage, mostly to do with the fact that we really haven't figured out how to solve for currency differences and also differences in the amounts. So if you say $20 off, but you have a reg class for $10, then that coupon isn't going to be eligible, and having to work through that. But percentages were the first iteration. We're certainly going to work on getting series, coupons, and other options in there. Yeah. Sure, I can slow down. Sure. Sure.
My question from the day is, when do you anticipate, because primarily Cyber Monday is coming, and you've got to get the
Sure.
value off, put a percentage off on Cyber Monday.
Yeah. I think it's just a matter of like figuring out how to do the validations on that. Oh yeah, of course I can. So the question is, when do we plan on iterating so we can do a dollar amount for org-wide coupons? And I think the main thing is really just making sure that we provide the right validation so it checks. So if I go back to the reg classes, so basically we would have to make sure that anything that was assigned here can validate that that's under the dollar amount prior to allowing you to go forward and allowing that coupon amount to be processed. So that shouldn't be such a hard lift. So we can certainly, if that's something you want to get in before Cyber Monday. Yeah. Right. Sure. It's not a question. She's just confirming what she wants. Okay, so another thing I wanted to point out about this, so basically the setup, as you can see, it's very similar to the event side of adding coupons in the event, but then you pick your reg class. Again, you can see here it's just by the type of single use, and then it appears also, not only does it appear in this coupon tab under org-wide, but it also appears within the event. And I know it's not a major view of an event, but I was trying to fit everything on one slide here. You can see here, this would be your normal event coupons, and next to it we'll have an org tab now. And if you have any org-wide coupons that classify within that event, they will show up there. Is anybody else using org-wide coupons yet, besides Gail? No? Yeah, it's good, right? Thank you. All right. If anybody needs more information on that, I'm happy to sit down and walk you through some of that as well, or I can do it in a few minutes. I have all the events and org pages up to go through it if we wanted to. I'm not sure how much. Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, good. In the reports, you mean, or in the account tab? Okay, yeah, in the account tab. Yep. 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 Yeah. Good. Yeah, and I spend a lot of time in the athletes account tab, mostly because of the work with payment processing and transactions, which is what I was going to cover next. So this transition started last fall when we started to expand our registration platform overseas for Spartan. And what they do is Adyen provides a wide range of flexibility for alternative payment methods. Something that's not quite as interesting to you guys, obviously, credit cards work great in the U.S. Use them more than, I think, 90% of our online transactions are credit cards. But that's not really the case in a lot of other countries, which is why we expanded our payment processing platform. What will become beneficial for us in the U.S. is that the online bank transfers and wallet pays, such as PayPal, Apple Pay, that kind of thing, will allow or enable at some point in the near future. And when we do that, it just gives your athletes more opportunity to register with something, especially younger kids who may not have credit cards or the debit cards or whatever. So as Apple Pay and PayPal become more popular, we'll be able to use those, and hopefully it'll see more registrations. Also, Stripe, as mentioned before by Troy, I believe that we are seeing some changes to their platform that we will lose some of our current functionality. In particular, that's the MagTech card reader that we use on site. We do have that working with Adyen now, so the idea is to get everybody moved over so that you don't lose that on-site functionality day of race or during your expo. So I was going to just do a quick demo of what a payment looks like, just so you guys are familiar, even though you got some email communications out recently. Okay, so is that? How do I get it to show up? End slideshow? I can mirror it, I think. Am I doing this with Apple TV? I'm not. But that worked. So we are doing it with Apple TV. Is that big enough for everybody to see, though? That was just random, guys. Just saying. I'm sorry, this mouse is a little, yeah. There we go. So during the checkout, it just redirects you paying on Shauna's credit card, so I don't mind the amount. And it just goes through a couple different steps. And then you're registered, and it shows you basically. So it's just a little bit different. It's nothing to be too concerned about. I know a few people have experienced it before being kind of informed of the changes. So just wanted to show you guys it's not too scary or different. And then the account tab, details have changed a little bit, but again, it's nothing concerning. It's our support is completely versed in it.
That was a saved credit card profile, right?
Yeah, so that it's associated with my email address. And it's an option that the customer has if they want to save it in step 2. So the question is they noticed that the credit card was saved, and that's something that the person paying can choose to do or not choose to do. Mm-hmm. Stripe didn't ever remember it, yeah, because it's not they didn't tokenize it prior to the page where they've saved the credit card information themselves. Go ahead.
So you probably said it
That's
already,
okay.
but this is live right now, or this is you switching to agent pretty soon?
So the question is, are we live with this right now, or are we moving events over as we, and the answer is yes, we've betaed all of Adyen transactions and payment processing on all of our international markets, and we're moving the domestic events over now that we're fully functioning. So we had to improve on-site registration. We had to get it working for series, which is a release that I did this morning. And then we also have to get it working for lottery events. We are transitioning like 2018 events over now. Account managers should be working with you guys. They should have contacted you by now to let you know that we wanted to set up a new payee that's working through Adyen. But other events that don't have, when we do lose that Stripe functionality with the on-site card reader, we are going to want to move that over, that event over, so you don't lose that on race day. So we're working through that transition because that's probably the touchiest when you have a payment processor using Stripe in an event first and then switching the payment processor to Adyen. We just want to make sure that we don't cause problems for our accounting and for our support. So once we get that worked out, we will eventually move everyone over. Do we have any more questions about Adyen? Is it scary? Are you guys freaked out?
I thought it was really neat how it remembers the card. Is that based on, did you say email address, or is that based on?
Email address.
So it's not based on ChronoTrack or account?
Nope.
Okay.
So the question again is, remembering the card, what is it based on? The answer is email address. All right. Yep, exactly the same flow. Yeah, it does. So the question is, how does it work on site? It does. Yep. If you've registered for an event before and you've said check to remember my information, it will remember your information based on your email address. On site, online, and again, it's up to the athlete to check that box. So it's not automatically checked.
Will there be a prompt?
It's on step 2. Do you want me to show you again? I can. So, I can show you guys. I'm just going to sit down to do it, and I might set the mic down really quick because unless you want to hold the mic for me. Can you really? I have to type. Sorry.
Probably to
Yeah, they can uncheck the box anytime they want. Yep. Thanks, Kilberg.
No problem.
All right, so
This is my job.
I'll buy you a drink later. Okay, so I am opening up. Let's make this bigger. So it won't remember information like it does because it logs you out, of course, as you guys know. So it's not going to remember me. That's not my birthday. Just don't worry, guys. Just type in random stuff. Wow. The question was, are you older than that? The answer is no. Okay. I hate this mouse. Yeah. Okay, so check out. And as you can see here, it remembered it. So now I can click and choose a different Visa card, or I can click whatever option I want. The other thing that this does is the way it renders new payment options is based on currency and country code. So if I was to say I'm from the UK and the currency was euro, whatever options that they offer in the UK is what would pop up. So that's the other thing to look up for. But obviously here in the US, we just have the credit cards enabled right now. So what I can do is I really don't want to type in a real credit card right now, but if I go to the next step, I've tested this a few times. Yeah.
For that, on a Chromebook, it's going to be this way, it's going to fit on the screen. That
It does.
it'll fit all.
Yeah.
All those options will fit, but without having to scroll. Scrolling causes major issues on a Chromebook. You know, you're probably scrolling a Chromebook.
Okay. Yeah. So that would depend on how many payment options are listed. But the other thing that we're going to implement with Adyen is going to be the directory lookup, which means we would have all the payment options fit on one page. The redirect was the initial implementation because it was quicker to implement, and again, we wanted to beta it to see if this is something that was going to work. We decided it does work, and so the longer kind of path to use Adyen will be and it'll be more customizable as well. So for example, on-site forms will only show credit cards. So if there's certain credit cards that we don't see being used, for example, for our US events, we can hide those ultimately across all events. So Diners Club, for example, we don't really see that being used. Really, if we just want to offer Visa and MasterCard, that's an option. So that's another thing we just need to kind of work through and make sure that we're comfortable with removing certain options. When we do directory lookup, it can be more customizable per your event. So that's kind of completely in your hands, which is also nice. So this is the step that it would allow you to click yes or no, and you can see here it's just been saved. But if I was to type in a new credit card, and being that this is production, I have to type in a real credit card, so for security reasons I won't. But if I was to click a new one, that next step would say, do you want to save this information for the next time you log in? That option is also something we can disable if it's something that people aren't comfortable with for any reason. Any more questions on that?
I got a question. It's not about that. It's just the race day, when you're signing up race day and you mess up and you try to go back to the I'm registered or register me screen.
Oh, yeah. I can show you, actually, how that works. Sorry, that was another part I wanted to show you as well. So thanks for reminding me. So when I finish this payment, so right now on the on-site form, so now that I finish the payment, it'll allow me to sign my bib just like it does now. And then when I click assign and finish will pop up, and it takes you back home to that page. So now you don't have to go, because what we did first implement was it didn't bring you back to this page, and that was really hard for people to manage back. So now we've made it so it flows just like it does now.
So what I'm saying is you don't go all the way through the transaction.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, clicking the back button will never get you back to that screen.
To this, in case you want to look up just a register me, that's the same problem we have now, though, right? Okay, so maybe we should think about how we can solve for that offline. But yeah, it's not an Adyen issue necessarily, just an on-site form issue.
Oh, does it really? I've never tried it. Okay. Thank you very much.
Now I'm curious to check. So if I'm on this page, if I just go refresh, because it doesn't go back, doesn't this work?
Once you start putting in information,
It won't take you back.
you gotta go further in.
All
Yeah.
the person's information. The only way to get past it is to hit refresh and wipe it out the page.
Thank you very much. That will help.
Okay. So if I refresh now, will it take you back? Okay. Cool. All right. So As mentioned in the features we've released since conference, this was the last one on the list that I just wanted to point out to you guys. This is customizing the registration confirmation page. That's a link within our event. And before, I believe it just provided name, bib number, and gender. Nick, can you confirm? What did it was basic information before.
It was race, bid, and I think maybe date of birth and age or something.
Yeah, so now you can, in the, what tab is this in again? On-site options, you can see athlete name is a default, and then you can pick whatever information you have, including custom questions. So here, Peachtree's example is, would you like to receive your race number via mail or pickup, and it'll state that custom question for you as well. So it's kind of fancy. Mobile view. All right. So what is coming up? Again, series is a big focus for us right now. We really wanted to kind of provide more feature capability, including some of the basic stuff that we provide in events now, like an emergency contact slide. If that emergency contact information would go to each event. Standard T-shirt slide. So apparently the way it's working now is that you have to add your own custom question, but if you wanted the T-shirts to work the same way as the custom or the standard T-shirt slide, it has to be the exact size and typed in everything the same, and it's quite frustrating for users. So we're just going to import the standard T-shirt slide so for easy use, and then also adding the ability to do conditional logic custom questions. There are other things we're going to work on series. These are just the near future teams working across series. That's going to include a little bit of work on org-wide teams and things like that, but that is on the roadmap as well. Other things that we are working on with Adyen, series registration payment processing is released as of this morning, so that's checked off the list. Then the next thing is lottery. Also, the directory lookup is what I was talking about, having more customizable functionality with payment options for your own event. Also having it no more redirect, so it's a little bit smoother payment processing in general. And then also we're working on flexible refund processing, so allowing event directors to do refunds for their customers themselves rather than having to go through our support. So that's like a big kind of project we're working through, solving for all the use cases and making sure that it makes sense for everybody and everybody's happy once we release it. So, any questions on that? Oh, good. I know that's a big one that you guys want. So.
Just on a registration question, is there a way that we can have it so you don't have to have a waiver for a reg option? Like if you're a virtual runner, I don't care if you want a waiver. And there's no way to go through without currently saying yes.
Right. Why? I think it's something to do with legal issues that we have to have a waiver. The question is there a way to avoid having the waiver question set up, right?
Yeah, because like on the T-shirt option, you can be like, yeah, I want to show up for this option, this option, but the waiver.
And donations and everything else, but the waiver is required.
Like it's a race donation or something like that.
Do you know why we have?
I'm not entirely sure if there's a legal reason for it. It's probably something we should ask our legal department.
Yeah.
See if
Certainly look into it.
give people the option to suppress the waiver from showing for certain registration choices. I think that'd be the
Such as gift certificates or shuttle passes or things like that.
Right.
I mean, I don't
Yeah.
see any technical reason why we couldn't do that.
Oh, no, adding the option to show it or not is something we could easily implement, but I felt like this came up before and the answer was something about it being something that you have to have for the reg choices. So I think there's a way to determine, also checking that the reg choice is not an actual event participation, that you can then disable the waiver form.
We choose fun time when we're setting up a.
Sure, yeah. Like have that as the flag. Yeah. I think Shauna's back there taking notes, actually. Do you get that, Shauna? All right, any other questions? I think that's my... Yeah, no, go for it.
Are you involved in your role with the simple report? So for example, we said, I want to see a report on next teams. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
In the team tab,
Mhm.
there's some of the report. Could you add things with applicants' email address?
Yeah. Just adding a column for email address for team report? Absolutely.
Well, it's
Yeah.
so many people on the team, did they fill up their roster yet? But then I have to go back and cross-reference.
Right.
with an email.
Yeah, that's, yeah, adding columns to reports that already exist is a super easy request, so, yeah.
And the deferred thing we already talked about, so we just status
Yep,
item.
and I already made a note of that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that's a biggie. And y'all alluded to it in a big little blog that you put out that said, here's how to incentivize people and get more creative with your
Referrals?
teachers, I call it premiums.
Mm.
We need the ability to change the header on that page so that it says t-shirts. Every application says t-shirts, oh, we're doing hats, or we're doing sweatshirts. Or if we could alias that word, I don't care what it shows up in the report tab.
Mm-hmm.
I just want it to appear on the form.
Are we talking the standard t-shirt slide?
Yeah.
Okay. So making the standard t-shirt slide more flexible to sell an item of some sort.
Correct. I want to be able
Okay.
to label that item, and again, I don't care what it shows up on my end of the reports. I just
Right.
want the customer to see something logical.
Sure.
And down at the bottom, we have really great views, men's, women's, unisex. I need 2 or 3 or 4 that I can put an alias in that says ball cap, $5 charity donation, retail buck discount.
Okay.
And when the person says yes to that, I know how to fulfill it.
Mm-hmm.
And I can also use that as a one-stop report rather than add an option question, add a
Right.
to put that one on all of us.
Right, right.
So option capabilities on premiums and being able to change the header for the slide would be super helpful.
Okay. Yeah. Was that a question? So, Gail was just talking about some requests to do with the standard t-shirt slide and making it more customizable for other items possibly sold, such as hats and whatnot. Any other questions?